We want to build you a website that works as hard as you do.
No one teaches us how to manage.
She really inspired me because she was like, Leslee, there's not one process that I haven't documented with a video.
Such a good reminder. And that's what I tell people too. When they hire their first assistant, their first job should be helping you create your standard operating procedures.
If I don't know you, then I can't build a website that's an extension of you. And you do end up getting little bits of freedom back. And so I'm entering into my 40th year, probably the healthiest that I have ever been.
Today I have a really fun person to interview. Her name is Leslee Owen, and let me just tell you about this woman. So she's the co-founder and CEO of Movement Waker Web Design. She's a mama raising 4 kids, ages 6 all the way up to 14. So she's got her hands full. She's grown a business by pursuing her passions in light of her motherhood and not in spite of it. I love that she said this. So I'm so excited. Welcome to the show, Leslee.
Marina, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be on the podcast, and I know we're going to have lots to talk about.
Yeah. So quick, let's just learn about who you are real quick. So I think we got introduced through Brand Builders Group, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. So quick drop there. If you guys are not plugged into an amazing community of entrepreneurs, this is it. Like, we have gotten so connected to amazing, like-minded thinkers. We're all on the same journey of building our businesses. And I'm so excited to get to know you today. But give us the backstory. How did you get to where you are today? What would that look like?
Girl, we don't have enough time.
5 minutes,
We do not have enough time. But, recently, I think I've been thinking a lot about this because I turn 40 next year, 2025. And I just think back at the last decade of like turning 30 and 30. We'll just start there. My 30th birthday was also my grandfather's funeral.
Wow.
Talk about starting a decade and immediately being thrusted into identity crisis. Like, what am I doing with my life? And those are the big questions that I was having at that time. And, at the time it was extremely sad and devastating, but also such a gift in that I was kind of shaken out of this going through the motions reality. At the time, I was a television producer for about 10 years.
Wow.
Going through the motions. And I finally got to ask myself, what are my dreams? Because it was my grandfather who had asked me those questions when I was like 5. Mm-hmm. And he'd sit in front of me and he'd have this like little piece of paper and a pencil. And he'd say, Mijita, what are your dreams? And I was like, to go to Disney World. But I just watched him in his own life, like literally do things that no one in his family had ever done, move his entire family out of a community into another one to give us better education, just better everything. And so I think I've spent the last decade really learning to work on myself and to pursue things that I just didn't think were possible. And so now, being where I am, it's really because of those big moments 10 years ago that I'm standing in the things that I'm standing in, like, owning our agency, raising 4 kids. I can't believe I have teenagers now, but we do. My husband and I have been married for almost 18 years. And so it's been a very good life, but it has certainly had its ups and downs.
Yeah, totally. Well, how did you get into the web services space?
Yeah. So having that television production background, I was producing talk shows and commercials and long format documentaries. And it just became very clear to me that my content was only as good as how familiar I was with my audience. And so that was just a natural kind of transition into marketing, because that's what marketing is all about, right? It's about communicating and understanding your audience. So that led me into a corporate career in marketing. And when you're doing that, you're running into all types of marketing aspects, right? It's not just social media. There's SEO, there's, Google ads, there's so many things. And so my husband, when we were dating, we'd been dating forever. Like, we dated 5 years before we got married. But during that time, he supported himself and went to college by doing videos, but then also building websites. So he's been in web development for over 20 years.
Wow.
And so I had this like growing marketing acumen. He can build websites. And it wasn't that long ago that we kind of looked at each other and said, what would happen if we brought these, powers together and I sold websites for you, because he has such a heart of gold and he could not charge anyone for anything. And I was like, I can. Yeah. So it really just kind of was a natural convergence of the things that we had been doing for years. And what I love about websites is it's another platform for storytelling
Mhm.
if we utilize it in that way. And so that's how we came to starting the agency and doing that for a lot of different businesses.
Yeah, no, I looked at your website. It's incredible. And then you like looking at your portfolio, it's not just one kind of business. You got like
Yeah.
the whole spectrum, all the way. I think it was like some Christian puppeteer or something or other. And I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
yeah.
amazing. Okay, well, tell me, how is it like working with your spouse if you weren't doing that before? How was that transition?
Oh
Advice for you?
gosh, like that's another great question. So I kind of, Brett and I have we've worked together in the past before what we do now, and that did not go well. So Brett and I worked at the same organization. I was producing a children's talk show with Brett. He was a youth pastor for 18 years.
Wow.
And so we were working on a project together. We were very young. We were very, you know, energetic. We had a lot of needs. We needed to be validated, and
Yeah.
so we were just butting heads. And so I'd come home from being in the editing booth for hours. And instead of saying, "Hey, babe, how are you? How was your day?" It was like, "Where's the episode? How many episodes did you get done?
Oh
Is
no.
it good? Are they?" And so that was just a recipe for us. It was not good. And so I left that situation and told him, "I'll never work with you again. I will never do it." And
Yeah.
so we kind of took different turns in our careers, left some organizations, and then I kind of went off in this direction and pursued marketing. He went off in this direction, did some more nonprofit work and consulting. And we were kind of off in our own little world while simultaneously doing a lot of personal work within ourselves. And so now that we're back together, there's very clear roles, and I think that's huge. I think you have to have clear roles. I think we've both tried to lead this ship in the way that we think it should be going, and there was a lot of crash courses in that. But we've looked at each other and said, let's look at our strengths. Leslee, you lead this thing. You're CEO. We both own it, but he's creative director. And so he loves the designing of the websites. That's just how his brain works, and he's fascinating at it. And so once we've really established those roles, it's been a lot better. We also need space. So we
Yep.
recently got a bigger office. We do share it, but he's like in his corner and I'm in mine because we were a little too close. And the man, I don't know, he'll probably say the same thing about me, but he's a little loud.
Yeah.
And so I'd be on sales calls. He's having coughing attacks, trying to cross behind me to get out the door. And so I definitely recommend space. You
Hmm.
need some.
Good pointers. Yeah, we've grown through the same thing. We're like when we started my first company in 2016, it was a furniture rental company, and so naturally, I
Uh-huh.
was like, "Well, I need the muscle, so come work." And like I got
Yeah.
so overwhelmed, like we were helping each other. But he was trying to give it design advice and styling
Oh.
advice, and I'm like, "Honey, you just don't get it. Like it's okay." But for him, it was very much like condemning and like critical, and I'm like, "I love you.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
your strong suit." And so we had said we're never going to work together again.
Yeah.
But then fast forward, we're kind of doing it now, like with the family business and stuff. So it comes
Yeah.
and goes, but maturity is a big aspect of that for sure. You
Huge.
cannot keep
Huge.
score. Yeah.
Mhm.
All that good stuff. Okay. So now you're managing multiple people. How many people work for you guys?
So right now we have about three contractors, and we're looking to bring on more.
Cool.
And so that's a lot about hiring well. And recent lesson learned is I have had the ability to be very tunnel vision, right? And so I'm in charge of all business development. So I'm going out there. I'm the one finding clients, meeting with clients, sending out proposals. And so it's very easy for me to just kind of get in my zone.
Yeah.
But now that we have amazing people that work with us, as a leader, that's on my list of responsibilities as well. And so I really can't just take my eyes off of how they're doing or assume that they know that they're appreciated and that we love them. We couldn't do our work without them.
Hey ladies, real quick, if you are looking for a mentor, I just wanted to remind you that I offer mentorship to entrepreneurs. So if you're someone who has a never-ending to-do list and you're spiraling out of control and feel like your business doesn't have a track plan, I want to work with you every single week for a month at a time. It's super simple, but I come from over 10 years of experience doing this myself, and now I'm willing to give that information back to people. So I've mentored real estate agents, I've mentored wedding photographers, I've mentored other business owners, and they've come from a place of overwhelm mostly, and they really just needed clarity and a couple of action steps to move the needle, and we've seen gigantic leaps and bounds in their business. Like I can't even tell you. So if you're interested and you want to know what that looks like, I want you to go to marinatolentino.com. And there's a Calendly link there to do a 15-minute discovery call with me just to see if we're a good vibe check, to make sure we're on the same page. And I would love to work with you one-on-one to really boost your business to the next level. Let's dive back in.
And so that was a recent discovery. Although it didn't happen in the company, it did happen in our household. And my housekeeper fired me. And I got a text. I'm at work. I get a text. She hadn't come the last couple of Mondays, and I was like, where's she at? She's usually really good at texting me. And she just said, Leslee, I've decided to let some houses go that don't pay me and don't provide products that I need to clean. And so here are some numbers for people that I recommend. And I was shocked, and I was like, well, and I knew, yes, okay, sometimes at the office, and I know I need to pay her, and I just forget. And it was a wake-up call. I was like, you cannot take your eyes, just because you're removed from the things that you used to do, you can't take your eyes off of people. And so I mean, got on my knees, begged her to come back, apologized, paid her, gave her a raise. She came back, thankfully, went to the house when she was there. And, she was like, Leslee, it's okay. And I was just like, no, it's not. That was not okay of me. So I immediately said, hey, this happened in my house, which is its own kind of system, right, in itself. But this could have easily trickled into the people that work with us. And I was like, that cannot happen. So just trying to keep my head up and look at all aspects of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one huge challenge entrepreneurs have as they grow is like, it's not just me anymore. I'm not just a solopreneur. Now I'm taking care of all these people, which in a sense feels like more children. But I think one of the biggest things is no one teaches us how to manage. And so we go through this failure cycle of hiring poorly and firing slowly. And it makes us feel like, why did I even hire in the first place? It's really, really challenging. How do you set expectations for your team? Do you have any advice for that instead of babysitting? Like, how are we making sure they're performing?
That's so good. A lot of like processing. I do. And I met an amazing woman talking about BBG at our last accelerator. Her name's Whitney. She owns a PR agency. And so she really inspired me because she was like, Leslee, there's not one process that I haven't documented with a video. Like every single process has a video walkthrough of it. And so I'm right now actually in the middle of one of my contractors going on maternity leave. And so having someone else come in and instead of me, she had finished up some work and I was immediately going to go in and do tweaks. And I was like, stop, record this. So she understands your thought process in your brain and the client. So we really do try to not just do things for them because it doesn't work when we do it. And we really do try to take the time to bring them in and systemize it through the recording of videos like that. I think another thing is we do a lot of personal assessments. And one of them that we do is called The Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni. It's really good, really, really good. Highly recommend it. But it's really representing 5 different types of working styles. Some that are much more ideation, up here, vision, and then lower, which is execution, getting stuff done. So there's wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. So Brett is wonder and galvanizing. So he's at the very top, right? I'm invention and galvanizing. So I'm also very ideas. But we are really bad at just following through and getting stuff across the finish line. So we knew when we started bringing contractors on, specifically our web design project manager, we knew we needed someone enablement tenacity towards that bottom. And so we have Devin, and Devin's amazing. And during his onboarding, we literally wrote this acronym out, WIDGET, WIDGET. We told him where we are. We said, here's your strengths. And we gave him full permission. And we were like, you have full permission to tell us, hey, you guys need to come out of the clouds and you just need to help me get this done. And he's used it. Like he's definitely used it. And I'm so happy that he feels comfortable to call us out and be like, all right, you hired me to do this. And I get what you're trying to do in brainstorm, but this is what we need to do in front of us right now.
That's so good. Yeah. Empowering them to almost like teach you a little bit sometimes and be like, oh yeah, I have a job here.
Yes,
So good.
yes.
Such a good reminder. And that's what I tell people too. When they hire their first assistant, their first job should be helping you create your standard operating procedures because most of us don't have it recorded. We're all over the place. We're scatterbrain, gnat brain, And so as you teach your admin to do things, they're documenting that for you and building
Yes.
that whole thing. And that's so good. Well, diving into your website design business, I mean, rag off some of the businesses you've worked with. Like, what are some
Oh,
different?
goodness. We work with a lot of coaches and consultants. Individuals that are really looking to showcase their expertise. And so a little bit more of that personal branding side. We've worked with accounting firms, law firms. We've done some tech companies, real estate. Real estate's definitely been something that's popped up recently with people wanting to have their own take. Especially those that own their own brokerage, they want to have their own personal brand out there as well. But what they all may be different, but I think every single one of them, why they come to us is because they don't just want a website that looks beautiful. They want a high performing website. And so that's why, when we have a conversation, I tell them, hey, we're really not a good fit if you're looking to just like start off and you're just wanting to throw something up. We'll have people that'll say, oh, I just need a landing page.
Yeah.
And when they come to us and like, oh, I just need a landing page, then we're probably not the right fit because we're usually the second or third generation of a website for an owner that's ready for way more sophisticated marketing funnel development. Because now they're ready for this website not to be out on its own, who knows doing what, but to be a part of this entire ecosystem of the business and to be driving business objectives. So mainly revenue generation. So that's what everybody has in common. And this is what we say. We say we want to build you a website that works as hard as you do. So that's where we thrive. And what I'm most passionate about, I was telling someone, I just can't sleep. I wouldn't be able to sleep knowing that I designed a beautiful website, but it was literally just going to sit there and not do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's really important that you distinguish kind of the evolution and maturity of a site, right? Because when you're first getting going, yes, we just need the landing page. We just need contact form and like about me. That's all we pretty much need. But then there's also some people who might have the capacity to invest more into their initial website. They've like budgeted for this. Like we're going to put 10 grand into it and it's going to bring us leads on day one, right? And I think for me, like a lot of women, we know SEO is important, but we don't know what's important about it or how to do it. And it's just like this big technical jargon that we get overwhelmed and we're like, oh, screw it. We'll just do the landing page.
Yes.
And again, it's a pretty page that does nothing. So how important is it to really SEO optimize? Like, what's that big differentiator? Like, tell me some examples.
So great question. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and ideally we're doing this simultaneously. So we're building the website, we're designing the website, and we are also optimizing the website for search engines. So what this means is we've done keyword research for you. We have looked up what people are looking for when they're on Google. Which is relevant to your industry or your service or product, right? Yeah. We want to make sure that those keywords are throughout the entire website because Google is very particular about creating domain authority, looking for domains that have authority, that have the big trust factor, that have the experience factor, the authority factor. And the way that you do that is through this content that has the keywords that people or key phrases that people are looking for. So the very technical aspect of it is like on the back end. A lot of people, especially your DIYers, so maybe you're like, no, don't worry, I did my website on Canva. Well, there's a big part of like the back end stuff, making sure you have a meta description, right? Yeah. Making sure you have a title. And those are what pop up in a Google search. And sometimes you'll see people that it's like, insert a description here. It's because they never did it. And so Google doesn't know I should put Marina's website in front of this person because you haven't given it the information that it's looking for.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Work Like a Mother podcast. Real quick, I just want to remind you guys, if you are worried about missing an episode, you don't have to worry anymore because we are creating a weekly email that's going to go out automatically every single time there's a brand new episode. And this email is going to have everything you need to know about this week's featured guest. It's going to have all of the links and the resources that we're going to talk about in this episode. So you don't have to go around and fumble through the show notes, but it's going to be served in your inbox every single week. So if you guys want that access, be sure to click below one time in the show notes today. Sign up for that email, and then you'll never have to worry about it in the future. And bonus, if you really love this, we'd love it if you share this with a friend. Give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to, and we'll continue to bring new episodes and new information that's going to help you level up your life every single week.
And then on the front end, right? So the pages that we do see, there is something called hierarchy of content. So that just means we're telling Google what's most important on this page and then kind of go from there. So your header, which we call an H1, is most important. And this is what we want Google to identify when it's out there looking and trying to match people to their phrases. But a lot of times people have like 3 H1s on a page and they just have no clue. They have no idea. Yeah. So that's another thing that you want to be thinking about when you're hiring a designer is they may be designing you a beautiful website, but if you were to actually go back on the back end, you likely have like 3 H1s, 2 H3s, no SEO title, no meta description. And so that's just the frustrating part for us is it's living out there, but it's not doing anything. And so why is it important? It's important because eventually when you are ready, when it makes sense in your business to invest in SEO, then you will now generate the right traffic to get to your website that is designed to be high converting, which means people are going to go there, they're going to see exactly what they're looking for, and they're going to click those call to action buttons.
Incredible. And I think that's one of the big things is like, okay, well, we know we need to do it, but how much does it cost? And then also, how do we find someone that's actually qualified and like legit? So I get emails all the time from like India, China, whatever. They're like,
oh gosh, yes.
Optimize, blah, 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 blah. Like, how do you filter through it? What's like some of the criteria someone should look for?
Yeah. So let's take it in different stages. So if you are just starting out, right, and you don't have the budget, I do have some clients that come to us and they have some capital. They have resources that they've saved, set aside, and they want to start off with this website first time go around real good. So they'll invest in that. But if you're just starting out, then a Wix website or Canva is doing some pretty incredible things nowadays. The honest truth is, you know, Chat GPT is your friend. My husband calls her Gloria Patricia Thompson. Like it's her little acronym for GPT. Yeah. You can like literally, if you're just starting out, you kind of even tell Chat what it is that you're looking to create. And it's crazy, but she can kind of guide you through what you need to be doing on a Wix site or a Canva site. If you're ready to kind of take it to the next level, you're ready to integrate it to a CRM, you want to connect it to your MailChimp, you have some lead magnets that you've developed and you're ready to kind of put them out there and promote. Yeah. Then when you're looking for a designer, you definitely want to look at their portfolio, right? You want to be looking at what have they done? And you know, does this look, do they have an industry that represents my industry? Like, are they familiar with what I'm doing? You also want to go and check out their own website, right? Because if they're not kind of practicing what they preach, that's probably a really that's not a good indicator. So if you're looking and you're not even impressed with their website, then you're kind of like, I don't know if this is going to be a good fit. I definitely think shopping around is so key. Getting at least 3 estimates, talking to at least 3 designers. And you have some designers that are complete freelancers and they do it on their own. You have some designers that are a part of an agency like me. Now we're very specific to web design. So we're not a total full house. We'll do your social, we'll do this, we'll do that. No, we are specific to web design. But then you could get a quote from a full house agency. But get a couple of them and talk to the salesperson, talk to someone, and as you're explaining your vision, be listening to how they're talking you through their services. But most importantly, if you're getting on a call, like a discovery call, and they're just talking at you the entire time, and they're really not asking you questions, like what do you want your business, like what's the dream outcome for your business? Ideally, how are you looking to grow in the next year? I can't serve someone if I don't understand who they are and what their business is. Because again, I believe we're trying to create websites that work as hard as you do. If I don't know you, then I can't build a website that's an extension of you. Yeah. So you want to find a partner, like look for a partner. Don't just look for a vendor and like set it, forget it, let them do whatever they want to. like, put some skin in the game, do some research, ask chat, like, hey, what should I be asking these designers? But
Hmm.
then look for that chemistry, I think, as well. Someone that you can trust because, this is a process that you're investing likely a lot in, and you want it to feel like an extension of you.
Yeah, for sure. No, those are super great tips. And I think the call to action from that is like, go look at your website and then actually
Yeah.
look at it and be like, what's her like testimonials here? Are they real? Like go to the
Yes.
websites, check them out, click around, and then cross-reference your existing website to be like, do you have room for improvement? Maybe you should set up a call. That's
Yes. Yes.
absolutely, that's so good. What's kind of the biggest red flag you see when you look at a lot of these solopreneurs websites and you're like,
Oh,
I want to rip your hair out?
yeah. Oh, just the digital brochures. I think when we have our websites, we just think we need to sell, like we're trying to sell ourselves and we're trying to prove that we know what we're talking about. So we end up putting way, way, way too many words. And it's so
Oh,
focused on us,
yeah.
right? Focused on the owner.
Hmm.
And so I'm all about let's eliminate very static digital brochures. And when we think about a brochure, right, if we're at
Yeah.
a doctor's office or something, we just it is what it is. There's no interacting. They're just telling me who they are and what they do and what they offer.
Yeah.
And so when you're engaging with a high performing website, it's dynamic. It should feel like a conversation, right?
Hmm.
It needs to be human centered. So that's something that's extremely important to us. We want our clients to see themselves in our design. And that's why I highly recommend brand photography to my clients. And so we have a strategic referral partner that we send our clients to because stock photos, that's digital brochure. Like people can tell when you went on Adobe or went to Canva and you downloaded some stock photos. You want people to see you and you want people to see your process
Yep.
visually. You want it to be empathetic, right? You want it to be able to be engaging. You want trust to be exemplified in it. And then it's the conversation are like your CTA buttons. So maybe they saw your header and it's talk to an expert, see our portfolio. You go down a couple more sections, learn more about us. You go a couple, and so it's just this constant invitation to continue this conversation. If you add things like videos, right? And as the owner, you're there and you're talking and you're explaining what it is that you do, but most importantly, the problems that you solve, then
Hmm.
people are going to feel like they're literally talking to you.
Yeah.
And so as the owner, that's why having a high performing website that's an extension of you is incredible because now you have a reliable, never sleep, never eat person that's selling for you 24/7 and bringing in leads. I mean, that's the ultimate goal is that you have this existing platform
Hmm.
that is just out there doing its thing versus I mean, who wants to be in a one-sided conversation?
No. And some of them, like the language is, I do this for you. I do this. I did this. And it's like, change it to be like, you, what do you want?
Yes.
What I
What
do
do
for
you
you. Yeah.
want?
Yeah. I solve these problems. I think that's been a huge takeaway from the brand builders group course and everything.
Yes.
Just
Oh, for
languaging,
sure.
right? And phrasing. So good. Well, I kind of want to roll into what you do on the back end and everything. So you say delight days for self-care. Explain
Oh,
to me what a
yeah.
delight day is. Like women, we need more breaks. We don't take a rest. How do you do this?
Oh goodness. So I have a background in ministry. So I was in ministry when I was in television production. It was in a ministry, and so we worked on Sundays. And so anyone that has kind of that faith context or that worldview,
Yep.
you grew up with keep the Sabbath day holy, and
Mhm.
that day was usually Sunday. Well, guess what? I worked on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I tried convincing myself that I was at church. And so, yes, I was keeping this day as a day of rest, but that was the farthest thing from the truth because, girl, I was waking up at 6 a.m. to get to that church at like 7, taking
Yeah.
all my kids with me, picking them up at McDonald's, dropping them off at the childcare, staying until 2 p.m., going home, crash napping, going back for evening service.
Ooh.
And so when I transitioned out and left, I read this book and it was talking about what Sabbath actually is. And it was a book by Pete Scazzaro. And he said, Sabbath is actually just a day to delight in the things that bring you joy and to delight in the God that made you. And so I like sat there and I was like, wait, what? This whole time I have not been doing that. And so when I had the opportunity to go out on my own and set my own schedule, I, until this day, still make it a non-negotiable that on Fridays, that's my delight day. And
Ooh.
it started with like maybe an hour, and it was just an hour of doing something that I truly delight in. And so for me, it's like uninterrupted coffee, going to breakfast with a friend. I really love silence. I just want to be left alone. I want stillness. Maybe I love reading. So it started off like an hour.
Mhm.
And then the delight day kind of went to the day. And so I was like, ooh, all day. Oh, I want to go to this plant shop and I want to go to Barnes and Noble and I want to. And so kind of extended there. And then just recently, after years of doing this, I'll take entire like 2, 3 day trips by myself. And so
Ooh.
in August, I just got back from Washington State and
Mhm.
I got to stay on this little island off of Seattle, south of Seattle. It was called Anderson Island.
Okay.
And in the middle of the woods, this wonderful family allowed me to stay in their kind of guest quarters downstairs. And it was just me. And I'd go hiking and I would read and I would listen to music and I would literally just sit outside. And when I was hiking, I would encounter people on the trail and they would just kind of look at me. And I just don't think they knew what to do with me. I don't think they knew what to do with
Wonderful.
a woman that like I was married, so they would look and they're like, "Are you engaged?" And I was like, "No." Oh, you must be in the military then. No. So why are you out here? Yeah, why would a mom of 4 kids, with such a busy schedule, why would she be out by herself, delighting in just her own presence, right? In other people, in with the Lord. And so that's one thing that is now a non-negotiable for me, and that my husband and I give to each other is that every quarter we get to take this extended personal communion is what we call it. And so he's actually on his way out tomorrow to go camping on the beach because he just
Fun.
needs it's his turn. So it's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's definitely something to work towards the goal. Like I for sure I'll travel a couple times a year like to DC for work and stuff. And so I'll extend the trip at least a day to go be tourist.
Yes.
Like after the conference, like go an hour outside and go to museums and stuff like that. And it's so much fun. But I think it is definitely something with maturity where you get comfortable to be alone and eat at a restaurant by yourself, all
Yes.
those things.
Very
Once
true.
you figure it out, oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever. Like
Oh
I
yeah. I'm like, I'm on the best company. Me, myself, and I. We just have a ball. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's so good as a mom. That's awesome. And then you kind of shared on your Instagram story today a little bit of your health journey. So I've had a number of hormone specialists. My naturopathic doctor has been on here before. So give us a little insight because I think you might be able to help at least just one other mom who might be going through the same thing. Like kind of tell your story.
Oh yeah. Well, after you have kids, right, your body's just wrecked. No one really tells you that.
Yeah.
No one goes into the details. I think, I came from women that just very much you suck it up and you keep going, right? You're strong, and I come from very strong women, but you just keep going. And so my mother struggles with migraines, and especially when she was my age, I mean, they were debilitating. Like it would knock her out. Sometimes she'd have to go to the ER. And so after I started having kids, I noticed that I was getting these really bad migraines that I would have to like come home and go straight to bed. And sometimes sleep would help, but other times I'd wake up the next morning and they were still there.
Mhm.
And so I just told myself I was pregnant with my youngest daughter. And I said, after she's born, I'm not going to go back to conventional medicine because with her, I was like reading books and I was like, I could treat my pregnancy differently. And so I said, after she's born, I'm going to go the functional medicine route.
Mhm.
And so I saw a functional medicine doctor because my migraines were just so bad. And have been back and forth with some, but just recently, a year ago, went to another one and did way more tests than I'd ever done. So like cortisol tests, hormone tests, GI map tests. I mean, just hair mineral tests. We did everything.
Yeah.
And it was so surprising. Like when it came to the food, the allergy tests, I was already gluten free and I knew that tomatoes would trigger migraines.
Okay.
But girl, on that test was almonds. I was drinking almond milk every day in my
Oh,
protein. It was like tuna fish. So I'm thinking I'm being all healthy with my tuna poke bowl.
yeah.
It was black beans. I'm going to Chipotle and thinking I'm super healthy by, but
And you're
all
like
of these things were just,
self-sabotaging.
yes,
Oh,
they were just making it worse.
yeah.
And so she basically told me, hey, listen, it's just the inflammation in your body. And every month around my period, that's when the migraines would just come. And she was like, it's not hormones because we tested hormones. She
Mhm.
said, I think your body is so inflamed that even a natural occurrence like your menstrual cycle is putting you over the edge.
Wow.
So a year, like it's been a year of eliminating some of those foods, slowly adding back some, but some I haven't even really reintroduced. And the supplements, like not a crazy amount, but she's been amazing in helping me add back minerals and vitamins. I hate swallowing pills, so she found me all these liquid forms that taste really good in my water.
Yeah.
So I feel amazing, and I think. I don't know. I think one time I read a book from Candace Cameron Bure, and I was probably in my young 30s, and I looked at her and she was working out and she was so healthy, and I was like up to here with babies and diapers, and I was like, how does she have time? But somewhere along the line, your kids start to grow up. It's
Hmm.
kind of crazy, but they start to grow up, and you do end up getting little bits of freedom back. And so I'm entering into my 40th year, probably the healthiest that I have ever been, with more energy than I had. I have more energy now than I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just extremely grateful because I know that access to things like functional medicine is not available for everybody because that's all private pay, right? That's a lot of it's not, you're not able to use your insurance for a lot of it. And so I completely recognize that it's a privilege to be able to really pursue these alternative medicine and alternative ways of getting healthy in a much more proactive sense. But goodness, if there is someone out there that is just done with the prescriptions and reactive conventional medicine and really never getting to the root cause, then start like tiny, read the books,
Yeah.
clean up, like try to eat Whole30 or cleaner foods, and eventually you'll work your way up to where you may be able to run some of those more advanced testing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And I think that's the resounding theme, even from this podcast. It's like, don't settle for less. Like, what your body is at its prime and your mental health and your business and everything. Like, if you are just settling because that's what you feel like you're stuck with, like, no, 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 we're rebuking that. And
Yes,
there's so
yes,
much hope for us. And I love that you're entering your 40s feeling more healthy than you ever have. There's hope for us who still have the littles.
yes, there are, seriously.
4-year-old, and I'm still like, she's attached to the hip. She's my little shadow. Eventually, she'll be
Yes,
independent.
yes.
But even like with the Martha Stewart documentary, did you watch that on
I
Netflix?
haven't, but I've heard so much about it. My sister's watching it. She's
Yeah,
loving it.
it's so good. And so she talks about it. She's like, I was in my 40s. I was in my prime. I was more beautiful than I'd ever been. And so I'm
Wow.
36 and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, okay, so my best years are still ahead of me. And we still
Yes.
have a whole half a life after that. Like in our 30s, we tell ourselves we're so old. We're not.
I know. I remember when I was turning 30, I was like, oh my gosh. And then with everything that was going on, my grandfather had passed away. I was like, this is not what I thought it
Yeah.
was going to be. But no, so now you kind of like continue to set that bar. No, 50 is old. No, 60 is old.
Yeah.
But I know 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds that are just thriving, and they just keep saying it gets better. So I'm going to
Yeah.
trust them.
No, that's super encouraging. So we're excited for our 40s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, every episode I ended up with a fun rapid fire, so we'll just rock right into it. But what's your Starbucks order?
Oh gosh. Well, if I have to get Starbucks, 'cause I'm not a huge fan, but if I have to, it's a decaf hot latte with oat milk.
Okay. What do you make for dinner if it's last minute?
If it's last minute, then I am throwing together, my husband's mom's recipe. It's called goulash. I didn't
Okay.
grow up with it, but the kids love it. And it's basically like a hamburger helper, but kind of made from scratch.
Okay, got it. What's your favorite go-to department of Target? And do you have a favorite designer?
I don't think I can nail designers, but I kind of go more towards the home side, and probably actually no, I'm lying. I probably go to the book section in the back and just
Ooh,
look at
yeah,
the different covers. Yeah.
that's good. Awesome. Name a book or a podcast you'd recommend to our audience.
Oh my goodness. A book or a podcast. I should just like open up my and say what did I just listen
Yeah.
to recently? Listen to How I Built This is really good. I know a lot of people talk about that one, but it's just like the beginning stories of entrepreneurs, and how they kind of started from the ground up. I recently listened to one, the founders of Banana Republic.
Ooh.
And they actually don't own it anymore. Gap kind of took over that, but I only knew it from being owned by the Gap and being associated with the Gap. But it's a fascinating story, and it was really inspirational.
Love that. Yeah, founder journeys are awesome.
Yep.
TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Okay, and then where can they find you online?
Yes, well, you can connect with me on Instagram. It's at Leslee Owen, Leslee Owen. I'm also on LinkedIn under that same name, and I'd love to connect with either of them. And if you're looking for any websites or if you're curious, you're ready to have that high performing website, then you can find us at movementmaker.pro.
Amazing. And we'll have all of that in the show notes below so they can find it. And we have that weekly email that goes out too, so they get all in the email. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited for this episode to get out and just encourage people to tune up and clean up their websites and then check on their health if they need to, because that's
yes, that's awesome. Thank you, Marina. It was a joy to be on the show with you.
Thank you.